Hey everyone, what we're going to do today is a variation on a jig that I found online around 2007, 2008. Um, it's called a Joe's rootbeer jig that was on Flyfish, Ohio, um, which is why you've seen the title to this video, the JRJ 2.0, Joe's rootbeer jig 2.0. It's a little tweak that I did with it. And in the vise, we have a 1/8 ounce football head painted brown with 1/0 or a size 1 owner 5313 jig hook. This is primarily a cold water river smallmouth deal, uh, but I have taken some lake largemouth with it. But primarily river smallmouth is what this jig really was my intention. So we're going to get started. We're going to take a little bit of a Loctite super glue brush on. And the reason why is, as you can see, there's no real collar, no ring on the collar to lock the thread in. Plus, we're going to tie down a little bit further. So we're going to take our brown 210 denier flat wax nylon thread, and we're going to work it down, not too much further than a little past the collar. Maybe an 1/8 inch or so past the collar, right before the hook point. I'll work it back up, make sure I get enough thread. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to take a green pumpkin, a barred green pumpkin rabbit zonker, and I'm going to tie it in this way, and it'll make sense in a second because we're going to actually impale it. Get a good. Now I'm going to take this out of the vise, and I'm going to line it up to see where that hook point would actually come through. I'm going to put it right in the center here as best I can. Pop it on right past the bar. That's pretty good. Get it back in the vise and lock it in. I'm going to start wrapping all the way down to where we had it. Now, our next step is the root beer part. We're going to take some medium-sized root beer ice chenille, and we're going to tie it in and work it back up. The colors are going to seem stupid at first, but they all serve a purpose. The orange, brown, and this root beer chenille, the green pumpkin sort of stands out as the oddball, but I wanted it that way because I did want a little bit of contrast from the brown and orange, because root beer is sort of like a bronzy color. Orangey, copper, yeah, bronze, more like a copper color, I'd say. Work it all the way up and trap it. I did pretty good. I only got a little bit of a, sorry about the camera deal there. I only have a little tiny bit that I have to trim off. Now we got our chenille in there. It's time for the bucktail. First thing we're going to do is take some orange bucktail. And before I even go, I apologize. I didn't tell you the length. Uh, I like this about 1.5 to 1.75 with the rabbit strip beyond the bend of the hook. Even though it's a smaller jig, that gives you enough that it gives you some added action and a little bit longer profile. I've never had problems with short strikers. They seem to eat this pretty well. So the length will give you, you can shorten it up if you like for less action, a little bit more, a little bit of a bigger profile, make it a little longer. So I'm going to take this orange bucktail and we're going to put it in that the ends of the bucktail are maybe an inch, inch and a quarter beyond the hook point, a little bit. The end should just barely be hitting a little bit shorter than the leather on your rabbit strip. That'd be the easiest way to explain it. You get it marked off here and trim it. We're not looking for a real heavy bucktail either. Just enough to go around. We're almost there. You might have to add just a little bit more. Not much. You say you don't want it too heavy. And luckily I have some extra cut here. Get out some of the long ones. And we got a little bare spot right there. Line it up, trim it off. Same procedure with everyone, I guess. And that filled it in just nice. So now I'm going to tighten this down. And tighten all our bucktail down. Because there's no collar here, you want to keep it tight. Because you don't want it slipping down. Now we got our orange bucktail in. The next step is brown bucktail. And again, we're not going heavy. And we're going to make the brown bucktail just a little bit shorter than the orange. Couple wraps to hold it in place, and we're going to work it. You want the orange to shine through. You want it to be visible through the brown, but you definitely want to see the brown. Drop my extra bucktail that we got to tie in on the other side. Let's gotta see how much we need. Line it up to what we have. Get rid of some of the long ones. I apologize for that. It happens. And trim it. Yeah, I didn't design this, but when I found it and I tried it, I really liked it. So I kind of played with it over the years and came up with different variations. I do it with some Arctic foxtail as well. That's really nice. It really works good. And the difference is if I tie it with the Arctic foxtail, it's more or less a warm water deal. Not warm, but I could use that more or less all season long. versus this one here being more, with the bucktail being more of a cold water deal. And it's just because you get more movement with the Arctic foxtail. Now we're pretty good. There's some short pieces that I got to pull out, but we're going to lock that in. And that's how you want that brown. You want it to be visible, but you want the orange to show through. So play with it a little bit and see what you can do. Try different colors, which I have done that before and came up with entirely different jigs based off of this one simple way of doing it. So now we got our bucktail tied in, our rabbit strip tied in. I'm going to take, this is copper crystal flash. And I took one full strand and cut it in half because what we're going to do, this shows up really well. We're going to put one half there and tie it in. You want it a little bit longer, like about the length of the brown, maybe a little longer, a little shorter, depending on what you're looking at. I like it right around the length of that brown bucktail. Take the other half and tie it in on the other side like that. Cut it off. And we're almost done. One last thing to do. And that is this. This is a pheasant rump feather. Really like this on this jig. That was one of the things that I thought was intriguing, to the point where I used it on other jigs as well. I have a river smallmouth that I use a pheasant collar on, and some others that I haven't put on here yet. But this is some really nice stuff. I don't profess to be an expert with it, but if you want to see some nice stuff, nice use of pheasant feathers, go over to SDG Lurecraft. Adam does some really nice work with the pheasant, more so than what I do. He's good at it. I'm still learning. After all these years, I'm still learning how to work with this material. So go check him out and see what he does with the pheasant. Really nice work. So you see, I took that center stem to tie it in, and I trimmed it down a little bit because it was really long. I just wanted to, you don't have to, but I do it to make it easier, because you're only going to get a little bit of, like a wrap and a half, 2 wraps the most with this. And I'm going to hook my hackle pliers on. And what I do is I preen this back and I start the wrap, because the length of these barbs are really long. And I start like in the middle of the collar, because we're going to work it down. Once I got that, I'm going to tie it off. Be careful not to trap too many of your fibers facing upward. It's inevitable it's going to happen because of how long they are, but you try to keep them facing down as much as possible. It makes it easier to finish off the collar. Hold them back and start wrapping. Now you can use a lighter thread to get less of a buildup. Me personally, I still want the 210. I like the extra strength, so having a little bit wider collar isn't too much of an issue. Because I really like to crank this down, because you're dealing with no rings on here, so you don't get much of a flare. And that's it. Now we're going to do a whip finish, and I'll show you what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Trim it. Take our Loon water-based head cement here. Get a clamp. And there you have the terrific river smallmouth jig. JRJ 2.0. Profile of this thing, I think, is what makes it a winner. You could do a lot of different things. I tie this on the same pattern I tie on a ball collar, or a ball head jig rather, if I'm going to swim it or hop it aggressively. When I want to crawl it along the bottom, slow drag it, then we put it on the football head. And again, I'm still working on getting my tank cleaned up. I apologize for the delay, but once I get it, this will be one of the jigs I throw in there that you could take a look at how it works. But anyway, there you have it. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.